Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Native English Podcast, brought to you by Native English Stories, your cozy little space for real English conversations that actually help you speak with confidence. I'm Sarah.
And I'm John. Honestly, knowing that you're out there listening makes this effort feel truly worthwhile, so thank you for being here with us.
Before we dive in, I want to say something important. If you are listening to this right now, you are already practicing. Listening is real work, so please don't underestimate the progress you're making just by hitting play.
That's so true. And if this podcast helps you feel even slightly more comfortable with your English, please subscribe, like the episode, and share it with a fellow learner. Your support really helps us keep these conversations going.
Now, today's episode is going to help you with something that looks incredibly simple on the surface, but causes a surprising amount of confusion for learners at every level.
Oh, definitely. We're talking about two tiny words that cause enormous headaches.
Today, we are tackling for and since.
The classic duo. Everyone knows them, everyone uses them, and let's be honest, almost everyone mixes them up at some point.
You're definitely not alone if you've ever caught yourself saying something like, I live here since 5 years.
Or, I've worked here for 2020.
And the moment you say it, you stop mid-sentence and think, wait, was that right? And just like that, your confidence takes a little hit.
But today, we're going to fix that. Slowly, calmly, and completely naturally. No grammar stress and no complicated rules scribbled on a whiteboard.
Just two friends having a real conversation. Okay, John, before we get into the why, let me ask you a simple question.
I'm ready. Go ahead.
How long have you been doing this podcast?
I've been doing this podcast for about 3 years now.
Nice. And when exactly did you start?
I started back in 2022. So you could also say, I have been doing this podcast since 2022.
Perfect. And listeners, did you notice what just happened there?
We talked about the exact same situation, the same podcast, the same experience.
But we used two completely different words, and that is really the heart of today's episode.
Same story, different focus. That is the key difference between for and since.
Let us slow things down and really feel this properly. When John said for 3 years, what was he actually talking about?
A length of time, a duration. 3 years is how long something has been happening.
Exactly. So we use for when we are talking about a period of time, how long something lasts or continues.
For 3 years, for 2 hours, for 6 months, for a long time. For is always followed by a duration of some kind.
And since is completely different. Since points to a starting point, a specific moment in time when something began.
Since 2022, since Monday, since last summer, since this morning, since I woke up.
Since is always followed by a point in time, a date, a day, or a specific moment.
Now, let us bring this into real everyday life, not textbook life.
Yes, textbooks have a certain energy that does not always translate into actual conversation.
Yes, exactly. Imagine this situation. You run into an old friend at a coffee shop, completely unexpected.
Coffee is always somehow involved.
Yes, always. Your friend says, "Wow, I have not seen you in forever." And you reply,
I have been living in this city for 5 years.
Why 4? Because 5 years is a duration, a period of time.
Then your friend asks, when did you move here? And you say,
I have been living here since 2019.
Perfect. Same city, same life situation, different question, different word.
And this is exactly why learners get confused. In their minds, it feels like the same sentence.
But English pays very close attention to how you are thinking about time.
Are you thinking about how long? Use for. Are you thinking about when something started? Use since.
Let us try some more everyday examples. Work life this time.
Very relatable. A colleague asks, "Are you new here?" And you say,
No, I've worked here for 2 years.
Then your manager asks, "When did you join the team?" And you say,
I have worked here since March.
Notice how natural both of those feel. And listeners, pay attention to something important here. Both sentences use the present perfect. I have worked, I have lived, I have studied.
Because we are talking about something that began in the past and is still continuing right now in the present.
The action connects the past to this very moment.
Now, Sarah, let me bring up something that learners always wonder about. Can we use for with the phrase a long time?
Yes, absolutely. A long time is still a duration. So, I have known her for a long time is completely correct and very natural.
But we cannot say, I have known her since a long time. That sounds wrong to English ears.
Because a long time is not a starting point. It does not tell us when something began, it tells us how much time has passed overall.
So, since needs something specific, a moment, a date, or an event.
Exactly right. Let us try an emotional example now, because language truly lives inside feelings.
I love those. Go ahead. Imagine someone says, I have been feeling really exhausted for weeks. What do you feel when you hear that?
Heaviness. You feel the weight of those weeks pressing down. The duration sits with you.
Yes, you feel how long it has been going on. Now listen to this version. I have been feeling exhausted since last Monday.
Now we know exactly when it started. It becomes more specific, more grounded somehow.
English loves that kind of clarity, and since is what gives it.
Can I say something honest to everyone listening?
Please do.
Many learners are afraid to speak because of exactly these kinds of small words.
They think, what if I say for instead of since? Will I sound wrong? Will people notice?
And I want to say this clearly. Making a mistake with for or since will not stop communication. People will still understand you completely.
But learning the difference will make you feel more confident, and confidence genuinely changes everything about how you speak.
It changes your pace, your posture, your willingness to keep the conversation going.
Okay, let us practice together. I will describe a situation and you choose the word. Listeners, play along quietly in your head.
Ready.
I have been waiting for 30 minutes.
For, because 30 minutes is a duration.
I have been waiting since 8 in the morning.
Since, because 8 in the morning is a specific starting point.
She has been on the phone for an hour.
For,
She has been on the phone since lunchtime.
since. And listeners, you already understand this. You just needed calm, unhurried practice and the permission to go slowly.
And that permission matters more than people realize. We often rush ourselves far too much when we're learning.
Now, let us talk about how for and since appear in daily routines, because this is where you'll actually use them most naturally in real life.
Morning habits, work, learning English itself.
Yes, because you have been learning English for how long?
For many years, honestly.
And since when? Since I realized that communication matters so much more than perfection. That moment genuinely changed how I approached the whole language.
And listeners, notice what just happened. That sentence already shows how for and since live inside real human experiences, not just grammar exercises on paper.
Let me ask you something simple, Sarah. What time do you usually wake up?
Around 6:30 most mornings.
And how long does it take you to feel properly awake?
Honestly, I have been needing about 20 minutes for as long as I can remember.
Perfect use of for, because 20 minutes is a time period.
And when did that pattern start for you, John?
I have been slow to wake up since I stopped having coffee first thing in the mornings.
That explains quite a lot, actually.
Same basic feeling, different focus. And listeners, English keeps asking you one simple thing. Are you talking about how long or from when?
That is it. That is genuinely the whole question. Now let us talk about waiting, because everyone waits. At bus stops, at a doctor's office, on hold during phone calls.
And waiting is a perfect situation for practicing these two words naturally.
Imagine you are waiting for your friend outside a restaurant. You send them a text saying, I have been waiting for 20 minutes.
Natural, relatable, very human. Then your friend finally arrives and asks, when did you get here?
And you say, I have been here since 4 o'clock.
Clear, calm, confident. Two different words giving two different angles on exactly the same experience.
Now, let us talk about learning English itself, because that is precisely what everyone listening is doing right now.
Someone might say, I have been learning English for 5 years. That sounds strong. It tells us the full duration of the effort involved.
And then they might honestly add, and I still feel nervous sometimes when I speak.
Which is completely valid and very normal. Now, if they say, I have been learning English since secondary school,
that tells us when the journey began. It gives us the starting point.
And sometimes people realize they've been using the wrong methods for a long time. But that awareness itself is already growth.
Awareness really is always the first step toward genuine improvement.
Let us gently correct one very common mistake now.
Yes, some learners say, I am here since 2 hours.
We understand completely what they mean, and there's no shame in that mistake at all.
But let us fix it naturally. The correct version is, I have been here for 2 hours.
Because 2 hours is a duration, and we need the present perfect, I have been, because the action started in the past and is still happening right now.
And with since, I have been here since 3 o'clock. Present perfect again, I have been.
Focus on the feeling rather than the grammar label. Think about duration or starting point. That's enough.
Let us do something a little more fun now. I'll give you a situation and you respond naturally.
Deal.
You look really tired today, John.
I have been working for about 10 hours.
That is too much. And when did you start?
I have been at it since early this morning. No real breaks either.
Please rest after this episode.
Now your turn. Your phone battery is almost completely dead.
Oh no, my phone has been losing charge for the past hour and I cannot find a charger anywhere.
When did it start getting low?
It has been like this since I left home this morning. I completely forgot to charge it overnight.
Very natural, very relatable. Now, let's talk about relationships, because for and since appear there constantly in very warm and human ways.
Friends, family, old connections that have lasted years.
I've known my best friend Claire for 15 years. That sounds deep and well established.
But if you say, I have known her since we were children, that sounds emotional, almost nostalgic.
Same friendship, completely different angle. English gives you that choice and that richness.
And that choice is what makes the language feel alive, not just grammatically correct, but genuinely expressive.
I want listeners to hear something clearly. When you use for and since correctly, you don't just sound grammatically right.
You sound calm, natural, like someone who belongs in the conversation, like someone who has real things to say and knows how to say them.
And that feeling is absolutely worth practicing for.
Now, let us talk about habits, because for and since live very naturally inside the rhythms of daily life.
Good habits and difficult ones.
Let's start with something everyone relates to. How long have you been drinking coffee, John?
I have been drinking coffee for about 8 years, since my university days, honestly.
And now imagine someone says, I've been trying to cut back on coffee for 6 months.
You feel the effort in that sentence. The duration makes the struggle feel real.
Then they add, I've been feeling more anxious since my workload increased last year.
Now we understand the origin of the pressure. The since gives us the starting point of the problem.
English really is storytelling. Even the smallest sentences carry a whole story inside them.
Let us correct one more common mistake gently before we close.
Yes, some learners say, I am learning English since 2 years.
We understand them perfectly, but let's help it flow more naturally.
I have been learning English for 2 years, or I have been learning English since 2022.
Both versions use have been because the learning started in the past and is still happening right now. The action stretches from back then all the way to this present moment.
That's the feeling you want to hold on to, not grammar anxiety, just that sense of something continuing from then until now.
I want to add something a little personal here.
Go ahead.
Have you ever felt genuinely tired of practicing English, just completely worn out by it?
Honestly, yes. There were definitely periods where I felt really burnt out by the whole process of learning and creating.
For how long did that feeling last?
I felt that way for a few months during one particularly difficult stretch. It was tough.
That sentence sounds heavy because the experience was heavy. And when did that feeling actually start for you?
It started since I began constantly comparing my own progress to other people online.
That's such a real modern problem. Social media makes comparisons so easy and so quietly damaging. But notice how since in that sentence gives us the trigger, the exact moment the feeling began.
Exactly. It's the same emotion, but it gives you real clarity about the source.
English really lets you express that kind of self-awareness, which is genuinely powerful.
Let's do one final practice together. I'll say a sentence with for and then the same idea with since. Just listen and feel the difference.
Ready when you are.
I've been living in this neighborhood for 4 years. Now the same idea. I've been living in this neighborhood since 2022.
The focus changes entirely. The first feels like a duration, a length of time. The second feels anchored to a specific moment.
Anchored is exactly the right word for it.
Now let's try something a bit more emotional. I've been trying to speak English more confidently for a long time.
And the alternative, I've been trying to speak confidently since I stopped being afraid of making mistakes.
That second sentence carries an entire journey inside it. You can really feel the shift.
That's the magic of for and since once you truly get them. They carry your story and give your experiences a real shape.
Before we close, let me keep it very simple. If you take only one thing away today, let it be this. For is about how long and since is about when it started.
For a duration, since a starting point. That's the whole secret. If this conversation helped you, please subscribe to the Native English Podcast, brought to you by Native English Stories.
That is the perfect way to end this.
Oh, hey, by the way, I've left a little challenge for you in the pinned comment below to help you practice. Please check it out.
We'll see you in the next episode. Take care, everyone. Bye-bye, everyone.
Bye.